So, being someone who wasn't a model student, having no idea what you wanted to do, you're concreting and working as a laborer, you buy a camera. How do you end up working for a global brand, not just a global brand, but being the creative director of something like GoPro, which is, really been a legacy brand for a lot of young people today. Can you run me through how that all happened?
Yeah, so it's definitely, little stepping stones. Like things like that don't really happen overnight. Um, I think when you're young, and I remember when I was younger, like you can look at, especially in a creative field, you can kind of look at what some companies or some filmmakers are doing, and you're like, that looks so crazy. There's no way I can ever do that. Um, but what you begin to learn throughout your career is that it is small stepping stones to get to a place like that, and there's a whole team there that all have experiences that are making that thing happen. So you should never kind of compare yourself to that and think that you should be able to do that right now. So for me, it was definitely little stepping stones. And once I got that camera, um, basically I did what I had planned, and I took that next year off. So when I was 19, and me and a good friend of mine, we basically decided to go live on the South Coast and film surfing and film bodyboarding with our friends, not professionals or anything like that, just film with our friends. And it was great. Like it was a good time. Like we were just hanging out, filming. We'd saved up enough money to spend a winter living down there. Um, and it just kind of grew my passion because I just had more and more fun. And it was like this big adventure, living down there. And I guess that kind of trickled onto like, you know, call it luck or whatever. But when we would be out filming these waves with our friends, like then all of a sudden one day a bigger international pro might rock up, and they'll start surfing this spot, and you're sitting there with your mates like looking at this guy who's the guy that you've seen in all the movies over the last few years, and you're looking at him like, oh, like what's he doing here? So me as a filmmaker, I would be there and I would, kind of film him, try and look cool and like film him. Um, and then what started happening was all of a sudden I realized that, you'd be there filming your mates and then film this pro. And then I would get like an email that night or the day after, and it would somehow be from the pro that was at that spot. And he was like, oh, hey, like, I saw that you were there filming with your mates. Like, any chance you got this wave of me? And you're sitting there as a filmer. This is like a hero of yours from like 3 or 4 or 5 years ago who's just somehow got your email and emailed you as a 19-year-old kid, and you're like, oh, this is a huge moment. And yeah, so I remember that being kind of like this natural flow and effect by being in the water and always being there and doing it with my friends. That's how we like, if we weren't there doing that, we would never have ran into these pros. And I also remember these pros like hitting you up for footage, and sometimes this is when you're really young, and sometimes you've messed up their camera angle. So they've done something amazing on the wave, and because you're a beginner, you're young, you're learning, you've kind of filmed it really badly or missed the trick or something. And I remember that happening to me sometimes and thinking like, this is it, like my filming career is over. Like I've blown it, kind of thing. But no, so yeah, basically that was it, and that's a natural kind of effect. And through that, you film with these pros, then they kind of liked the work I was doing, and they said, oh, you know what you're doing. And then it kind of starts like by small invites to come do some local trips, like road trips for a day filming. And basically what ended up happening was I just kind of developed these relationships the same as I would with, with friends, right? Like you have friends and you're passionate about something and you form a relationship. I had the same kind of relationships build with these pros where, we're both obviously really passionate about what we do, them surfing the wave and me filming it. And we kind of just developed these like relationships naturally. A lot of them older, and a lot of them took me under their wing and just started inviting me on more and more trips. And yeah, and then eventually, move on a couple of years, those trips turned into kind of traveling internationally and, deciding, gaining the confidence to decide that I'll make my own movie, like the ones I'd been watching in school. And yeah, and spent the next 3 or 4 years kind of traveling the world, and shooting with all these guys, which for me at the time was amazing, because they were the people that I was watching, in these videos when I was in high school.